I went out for football just because that's what everybody did. I didn't like football. It was too hard. They made us sweat and bleed. You get knocked down 99 times and you get up 99 times and you become a man. I realized football was going to take me places about halfway through my senior year in high school. My high school counselor called me in and said, "Do not think about Georgia Tech." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because you have frolicked all the way through high school. You will not survive 2 semesters at the Georgia Institute of Technology." So I thanked her and went down to the library and looked up the word frolic, and she was right. I had frolicked all the way through high school. But that didn't bother me because I knew I could do it. I was a 6'2", 212-pound offensive center on a middling Georgia Tech team. We were 7-3 almost every year. My 4th year, I could be drafted as what was then called a future. I was so disinterested in the NFL that I did not know a draft was being held. Well, I wasn't thinking about NFL football, but my brother-in-law called us early on a Sunday morning, and I picked up and he said, "Hello, Green Bay Packer." Well, he's always messing with me, so I hung up on him. He called right back. He said, "I'm not kidding you. Look in the newspaper. The Green Bay Packers have drafted you." I said, "You're kidding me. I've never gotten a letter from the Green Bay Packers." Sure enough, there were 20 rounds in the NFL draft, and they drafted me last. When I got there, I was so intimidated, and if I live to be 1,000, I'll never forget my first time to snap the ball. Ray Nitschke was lined up straight across from me, a future Hall of Fame middle linebacker. Henry Jordan was lined up as a defensive tackle, a future Hall of Fame defensive tackle. And I knew exactly where they were, and I knew exactly what I was supposed to do. I snapped the ball to Bart. I never saw either one of them. And broadcasters talk about speed of the game, they don't understand. And I just thought immediately, I'm in the wrong place. A couple of plays later, I was to drive block Nitschke straight ahead. He broke my face mask, broke my nose, and knocked me out the first time I hit him. And so I'm on all fours there thinking, I gotta make a decision here. Do I want to hit this guy again? I think I will. And again, and again. I decided I would hit him again and again. Even though I never got to be as good a player as Ray Nitschke, eventually, over a several year span, I did become the best player I could be because I had to go against those guys. Lombardi hated prejudice. I mean, you say a racist word in his training camp, you were on the next bus. I had never been in an African-American huddle. I mean, never been in a huddle with an African-American person. So I was in mortal fear that they were gonna hear my Southern accent. These great, big African-American guys are gonna hurt me and send me home. But I'm walking out of the dorm one night, really just alienated and fearful, and a voice came out of the dark, "Bill." I thought it was God. I almost collapsed on the spot, but it was Willie Davis. Now here's the defensive captain of the greatest football team of all time. That's what they were being called. And he wants to talk to me. So there could only be one message. You need to get lost. But here's what he said. "I've been watching you, Bill, and I think you got a chance to make our team, and I'm gonna help you." I said, "You're gonna help me?" Well, he did. That was the happiest moment when I realized, hey, these guys are gonna give me a chance. Second year, Ken Bowman, our starting center, got hurt, so I started every game, and we went to Super Bowl I. And at the time, I saw myself as a starter, and I couldn't believe that Coach Lombardi. He would put me on the expansion list, but he did. He got rid of me. Broke my heart. I blamed him. I had shot my mouth off publicly, which was just really unforgivable, stupid, arrogant. A couple of years later, he was on his deathbed, and Bob Long, a great teammate, called me and he said, "You and I are gonna go see Vince today." I said, "No, you and I are not gonna go do that," because he wouldn't let me in the room. I was really scared of Marie, his wife. I just didn't want to see him because I had been so unthoughtful. We got off that elevator and Marie was standing there with Sonny Jurgensen. I'll never forget it. She greeted me like her long-lost son. Let's go see Vin. He wants to see you. I couldn't imagine that. So we walked in, and the great man was there. His body was wasted, but his eyes were the same. And shaking like a leaf, she kind of nudged me over there. His right arm was full of IVs, so I took his left hand and tried my best to choke out, "I'm sorry." I said a lot of things, but I really came here today to tell you that you've meant a lot to my life. He never wavered. He grasped me, squeezed my hand. The eyes never changed. And he said, "Well, you can mean a lot to my life if you'll pray for me." Whew. I said I would, and I had to leave. So what did the great man do to the terrified kid? Changed my life. People who forgive you when you least deserve it make you respond. So once again, he forced me to respond. At his moment of truth, he passed the ultimate test, which is, in the Christian faith, to forgive everybody, especially the ones who least deserve it. And that was Bill Curry that day. So I have been forced to respond differently to just about everybody ever since then. At every step, there's some phenomenal mentor that just kind of showed up as if by divine intervention. I think God looked down on me and said, this one's going to need some extra help. And so a whole lot of incredible people have shown up in my life. They just showed up. But by the time I ran into Don Shula with the Baltimore Colts, we had John Mackey, Bubba Smith, John Unitas, Raymond Berry, Lenny Moore. Oh my gosh, that's like a roll call of the Hall of Fame. The first game I ever played for Shula was against the Atlanta Falcons. And he was the only coach in the league that had special teams captains. And he made me the special teams captain. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. About halfway through the first quarter, I clipped Greg Brazina right in front of our bench, and Rick Vogt runs a punt back 80 yards, and it's called back. Well, Shula sprints on the field, grabs me by the shoulder pads, and he did some stuff that Lombardi would have been proud of. Well, since he came on the field, he's on my turf, and I didn't think I clipped a guy, I screamed right back, same language. We're watching film Tuesday morning. Big John Sandusky, the assistant, said, "Curry, is that a clip?" I said, "Probably." He said, "Well, let me give you some advice. The next time you decide to dog cuss the head coach on national television, you make dang sure that's not a clip. Do you understand me?" Whoa. I thought, my wife's flying in with our 5-week-old little girl, Kristen, and I'm not gonna have a job. I'm gonna have a one-game career with Don Shula. So I went and found Coach Shula. And I said, "Coach, I was completely out of line. I'm so sorry. I just lost it." He smiled. And you'll never believe what he said. He said, "I kind of like that. Just don't clip the guy next time." Now, you think we played hard for him? We would have died for him. There is a deep and powerful message in each one of these. This one, which is kind of embarrassing, if you're a football guy, you'll notice that my feet are not where they're supposed to be. They're not supposed to be between his legs. And this is the Kansas City Chiefs, and they sacked Unitas 10 times on Monday Night Football in this game and beat us to death. And it was so embarrassing and so humiliating that we had a team meeting the next morning. This is 1970, and we won the World Championship that year. Billy Ray Smith said, "If we get to the Super Bowl, I guarantee we're gonna win because the other team will be laughing so hard." Well, a Super Bowl ring is a piece of metal and stone. A trophy is a piece of metal and granite. And I honestly don't even think about them at all. But not a day passes that I'm not grateful to Don Shula and Vince Lombardi. With all my heart, I wish I was 1/10 as good a coach as either of them. I would love to be like them. But but you can't do that. You got to be yourself. My first year at Georgia Tech, I was walking up and down the sidelines, and my wife said to me, "You're trying to act like Coach Dodd." Oh, I hit the ceiling. It blew me away. I was livid. You know what that means? When you react like that means that the charge is correct. And I was trying to look like Bobby Dodd. I was trying to, he had this air of charisma and dignity and gravitas about him. And she said, "You're not Bobby Dodd. Cut it out. Just be Bill. Come on. The guys will respond to you." So since then, I've tried to be Bill, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But do I take lessons from each one? Every day. Every day. The overwhelming memory of coaching at Alabama is that I could take a pretty regular-looking guy, look like you or me, put him in a crimson jersey, and on Saturday, he turned into Superman. It was unbelievable. It is so much fun to coach those guys because they understand what it takes. Before they ever get to Alabama, they know what a privilege it is. And so that's how they play. So I loved every minute of that. At Kentucky, an entirely different kind of challenge, but equally wonderful type of young man who came there. The kids that wanted to prove that you can win in football at Kentucky, and you can. Sometimes they would only visit us because they wanted to go to Rupp Arena and see a basketball game. It was a privilege to be there, but I would like to have done a better job. Carolyn, my wife, she has a master's and a PhD from Georgia State. She spent 14 years to earn it while raising our children and moving around the country. There's no other school anywhere that would have allowed her to do that. We were 65. Society says that's the magic time that you're out to pasture. You're not supposed to be trying to do anything else, but we thought differently. We had moved 34 times in our 50 years of marriage. So when I called her, I said, "Are you sitting down?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Your alma mater has called. They want to start football, and they are thinking that maybe I should be the coach." And there was a long pause, and then she said, "Well, okay, that means you can do something you actually know how to do, and I don't have to move. Let's do it." And from that moment to this, we've been full speed ahead. Let's go, Ben. Get down, let's go.
He really cares. He's a coach that cares about you, not only as a player, but as a person. We're set on this earth for a reason, and he want to be able to look back and say, "I helped that young man out in any way he can."
Come on, touch Jarrell. Touch it, Jarrell.
He's someone that I don't want to ever let down, so I come out on the practice field every day, go my hardest. I know when I'm in the classroom, he has high expectations for me there as well.
Let me see it, go show me.
He's done so much for me, this team, this school. He had a vision for Georgia State, and he still has a vision, for what he wants Georgia State to be, and so, we're trying to build that.
The 3 years we've been here in existence, and he's already made a difference in these guys' lives.
That I can be a role model, and it's directly because he had a positive impact on my life.
When we think like champions and practice like champions, then that's moving us toward becoming champions. I worked at Baylor School in Chattanooga for a couple of years. And as you leave the Baylor campus, etched in stone is a long word, and it is the Latin magnanimitas, the definition being greatness of spirit. It became the hallmark, it became the basis for everything I do with young people or not so young people. You can have the best education, you can have the finest capacity for success in life, and if you don't develop your magnanimitas and give it to a cause greater than yourself, you will never be the human being that God made you to be. And if the guys can learn that while they're here and learn that it doesn't matter about a person's background, that we're gonna get along, we're gonna love each other regardless of whether we like each other, if they learn that, then we've been successful.